Hello everyone, myself Dr. Sanjay Kumar Soni, oral and maxillofacial surgeon. In this video, I am going to discuss about the venous drainage of neck. Veins of the neck. The word jugular refers to the throat or neck. It derives from the Latin jugulum, meaning throat or collarbone, and the Latin jugum, meaning yoke. To go for the jugular is a vital part that is particularly vulnerable. They are divided into those superficial to the deep fascia and those lying deep to the deep fascia. But two groups are not entirely separate. The superficial veins, tributaries of external jugular vein, drain smaller volume of tissue, then deep vein, which drain all but the subcutaneous structure mostly into internal jugular vein. The venous drainage of neck is through internal and external jugular vein and its tributaries. Now we are going to discuss in detail about the internal and external jugular vein. First, we are going to discuss about external jugular vein. External jugular vein. It largely drains scalp and face, but also some deeper part of the neck. The union of posterior division of retromandibular vein and posterior auricular veins begins near angle of mandible just below or in parotid gland. Then it descends obliquely across the sternocleidomastoid muscle and just above clavicle, pierces deep fascia and drains into subclavian vein. It has valve at its entrance into subclavian vein but does not prevent regurgitation. It is covered by platysma, superficial fascia, and separated from sternocleidomastoid by deep cervical fascia. Between the entrance into subclavian vein and about 4 cm above clavicle, it is often dilated as so-called sinus. Now, tributaries of external jugular vein. These are posterior external jugular vein, transverse cervical vein, supracapsular vein, anterior jugular vein, a branch from internal jugular vein in the parotid, and occasionally by occipital vein. Posterior external jugular vein, a small vein begins in the occipital region that drain the blood from skin and superficial muscle in upper and posterior part of neck. It joins middle part of external jugular vein. Now coming on to the anterior jugular vein, it starts near hyoid bone by confluence of superficial submandibular vein. It descends between midline and anterior border of sternocleidomastoid, turning laterally low in the neck, posterior to this muscle, but superficial to depressor of hyoid bone. It joins the end of external jugular vein or subclavian vein directly. It communicates with internal jugular vein and receives small laryngeal vein and occasionally small thyroid vein. There are usually two anterior jugular veins just above sternum, communicate by large transverse trunk, the venous jugular arch, which receives tributaries from inferior thyroid vein. The internal jugular vein has no valves. Each also communicate with internal jugular vein. Applied anatomy. External jugular vein is visible as it crosses sternocleidomastoid obliquely. It can be brought into view by effort of blowing with mouth closed. External jugular vein is less obvious in children and women because their subcutaneous tissue tends to be thicker than tissue of men. In obese individuals, the vein may be difficult to identify even when they are asked to hold their breath. The superficial vein of neck tends to be enlarged and often tortuous in professional singers because of prolonged period of raised intrathoracic pressure. Transverse cervical veins are small veins that cross the neck and drain to external jugular vein. Now coming on to the supracapsular vein is a vein running above the scapula. It empties into the external jugular vein. Internal jugular vein. It begins at the base of skull in the posterior compartment of jugular foramen. It collects blood from the brain. Immediately below jugular foramen, the internal jugular vein is considerably widened to form superior bulb of internal jugular vein, contained in jugular fossa or inferior surface of temporal bone. At its lower end, at the junction of with subclavian vein, internal jugular vein again widened to form inferior bulb. Right and left internal jugular veins are rarely of equal diameter, the right jugular vein as a rule being wider than left. The difference in the caliber is caused by asymmetry of sinuses of dura mater. Now coming on to the tributaries of internal jugular vein into superior bulb. Number one is inferior petrosal sinus, veins of pharynx, root of tongue and sublingual area, superior thyroid vein, middle thyroid vein. Inferior petrosal sinus. The inferior petrosal sinuses are two small sinuses situated on the inferior border of the petrous part of the temporal bone, one on each side. Each inferior petrosal sinus drains the cavernous sinus into the internal jugular vein by crossing the or either lateral to the or medial to the ninth, 10th and 11th cranial nerve. Veins of the pharynx. The pharyngeal veins begins in the pharyngeal plexus on the outer surface of the pharynx and after receiving some posterior meningeal veins and the veins of the triggered plexus and in the internal jugular vein. Lingual vein is a blood vessels that arise from the union of the dorsal lingual vein and the deep lingual vein. The lingual vein passes adjacent to the hypoglossus muscle and drains into the internal jugular vein. The lingual vein venous blood from the muscles and mucosa of the tongue, floor of the oral cavity and from the salivary glands. Dorsal lingual vein. The dorsal lingual vein collects venous blood from the side and dorsum of the tongue. Now coming on to the deep lingual vein. It arises near the tip of the tongue, passes posteriorly below the mucous membrane on the inferior surface of the tongue. Near the anterior border of the hypoglossus muscle, the deep lingual vein unite with the sublingual vein, forming the vena comitans of the hypoglossal nerve, or we can call as vena comitans nervi hypoglossy, that passes backwards and joins the facial, interjugular or the lingual vein. Superior thyroid vein. It arises from the superior part of the thyroid, ascends along the lateral border of the thyroid to the carotid sheath and drains into the internal jugular vein. The superior thyroid vein mainly collect venous blood from the thyroid gland and larynx. Tributaries of superior thyroid vein are superior laryngeal vein and cricothyroid vein. The middle thyroid vein. It collects blood from the lower part of the thyroid gland and after being joined by some veins from the larynx and trachea ends in the lower part of the internal jugular vein. It crosses anterior to common carotid artery to joins internal jugular vein behind superior belly of omohyoid. Now coming on to the jugular venous pressure. Systemic venous pressure is much lower than the arterial pressure. It is ultimately dependent upon the left ventricular contraction, but much of this force is dissipated when the blood passes through the arterial and capillary bed. The venous pressure falls when left ventricle output or blood volume is significantly reduced. It rises when the right heart failure or when increased pressure in the pericardial sac impedes the return of blood to the right atrium. The level of the venous pressure is determined by finding the highest point of oscillation in the internal jugular vein or, if necessary, the point above which the external jugular vein appear collapsed. In the laboratory, the venous pressure is measured from a zero point in the right atrium. Since it is difficult to establish this point during physical examination, a stable and reproducible landmark is substituted, the sternal angle. In most positions, whether a patient is upright or supine, the sternal angle is roughly 5 cm above the right atrium. Difference between the pulsation of internal jugular vein and carotid artery. In case of jugular vein, no pulsation are palpable. In carotid artery, palpable pulsation. Pulsation obliterated by pressure above the clavicle in case of jugular vein. Pulsation not obliterated by pressure above the clavicle in carotid artery. Level of pulse wave decreased on inspiration, increase on expiration. No effect of respiration on pulses of carotid artery. Usually 2 pulsation per systole, and in case of carotid artery 1 pulsation per systole. In jugular vein it is prominent descent, and in case of carotid artery descent not prominent. In case of jugular vein, pulsation sometimes prominent with abdominal pressure, and in case of carotid artery no effect of abdominal pressure on the pulsation. This is the right patient position to check the jugular venous pressure. The technique for examination of central venous pressure. Patient reclining with head elevated at 45-degree angle. Measures elevation of the neck veins above the sternal angle. This is called as Lewis method. Add 5 cm to measurement since right atrium is 5 cm below the sternal angle. Normal central venous pressure is less than or equal to 8 cm of H2O. And what precautions one should take? Neck should not be sharply flexed. Using a centimeter ruler measures the vertical distance between the angle of Lewis or manubro-sternal joint and highest level of jugular vein pulsation. A straight edge intersecting the ruler at a right angle may be helpful. One thing important to note, ability to measure jugular venous pressure will be difficult if pulse is more than 100 per minute. What are the various conditions that can lead to increase or decrease jugular venous pressure? Conditions that can increase venous pressure into physiological and pathological. Physiological conditions are changing posture, forced expiration, contraction of abdominal and limb muscles, excitement. All these can lead to increased jugular venous pressure. Under pathological conditions are low cardiac output, congestive cardiac failure, venous obstruction, immobilization of body parts, and renal failure. Conditions that leads to decreased venous pressure are severe hemorrhage, and number 2 is surgical shock. Thank you.